My father was an alcoholic. My mother had some issues that she had dealt with in her childhood, and my mother was one of those people who just when she drank, she became a different person, so there was a lot of domestic violence in my house. There was a lot of disconnect in my house. My mother and father, on Friday nights, when they would have card night and invite people over, I knew that by 11, 12 o'clock, once the alcohol was consumed, that something catastrophic was going to happen. And that was the lifestyle. That was just the way it was. Domestic violence was an everyday thing in my house, and disconnects and feeling abandoned and feeling lonely was how I grew up. But you know what? It's okay. Because a teacher instilled in me, and she taught me that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what people call you. All that matters is what you listen to and who you listen to. And that reigned true in my life. And so when I looked at that, I said to myself, you know, I was one of those kids who was broken. I was abused, I was afraid, I was insecure, I was special ed, I was depressed, and I felt abandoned. Because see, I wasn't a very good student. When I went to the second grade, I started having academic problems. When I went to the third grade, I failed. And when I went to the third grade and I failed, they held a meeting, and my parents came in and they asked my parents, well, what's wrong with Mark? We don't understand why he doesn't connect. We don't understand why he's introverted, why he doesn't talk, why he doesn't do good on his tests. And my mother and father were going back and forth. Of course, they never mentioned the fact that there was domestic violence going on and all these other things that I was deficient in. And my parents were like, well, we're not really sure. He was in foster care, and after we adopted him, and all of a sudden, when they heard the word foster care, when they heard the word adoption, then all of a sudden they realized that something was different. And I remember the counselor looking at my parents, and they said, well, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett, you do understand that kids like this, well, you really can't expect too much. So we're not going to expect too much out of the Mark. We're just going to put him in special ed because kids like him, that's where they belong. It was the perception. It was the label that was placed on me. And all of a sudden, when that label was placed on me, then all of a sudden life changed. And a lot of children that we face today, a lot of children that we serve today are labeled. And let me tell you something about labels. Labels can be dangerous. Labels can be catastrophic. Labels can put people in boxes where they stay there forever. But here's the thing. Labels can also be rewritten. As Dr. Coates said, those things can come off the door, and we have the power to paint our own picture of what we want. We have the power to paint our own Picasso. Life is all about how we think, how we feel, how we engage. And the thing about it is, one person asked me once, they said, Mark, where is the greatest nation in the world? What is the greatest nation on earth? I ask you that question too. Where do you think the greatest nation on earth is? Okay, Andy, he says America.